Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo. I am joined by my two slightly ecstatic co-hosts. To my right, it is the one and only Uncle Sam.
Hello, blessed.
And to my left, it is none other than our very own Mr. Zolo, Mike Palazzolo.
Hello.
And behind the computer, as always, just jamming his own gears, it is Bruce, the tugboat, Venditti.
Howdy.
Glasses are on in full effect today. Uncle Sam is ready to go on a fucking hot Wednesday. Are you going to say something, or did you just perch
Well,
there?
I feel sorry for our little director, Bruce Tugger Nuts. He couldn't sleep last night. He's up to 1 a.m. after his tremendous play at softball, and he was such garbage at work today for the first 2 hours that I had to find him a place to sleep tonight. So he's going to go by Linda's house and sleep there because she's got air conditioning.
We need
In the same process of that,
Listen,
he's going to get his first gummer,
I already tried to do this,
and God bless him.
but
We need some context as to who Linda is.
Oh, she talks, she does that because she's got no teeth. So
Ah,
that's it.
okay. Well, I
Bruce
see.
is gonna get
I was
a
going
gummer.
to make my reservation, but you have the time slip for tonight.
Yeah, I know,
so
my time slot. Yeah.
yeah.
And how many people
Right.
have received a gummer from Linda that we know of? That we know of. You don't have to name names.
The only one I know that's had anything to do with Linda is Tim Flores
oh Jesus.
because Sam, his wife, and Linda had a three-way.
So is
Oh,
that why?
Jesus
Is that why Rigo always calls when he's talking to Tim? He says, "Go get."
all
your
I
girl."
remember was Tim was showing Curtis Neville's pictures of them all.
Oh,
but anyway,
God. Anyways, hi, welcome to the show. Actually,
it
Bruce.
was like old people eating ice cream.
My God. Bruce did have a very nice softball game last night, and funny enough, I brought the score sheet. So
He said you got it wrong.
Which is
by the
funny
way.
enough
didn't-
because I hit like shit, but somehow
He said
we
you got
didn't
it
get it wrong.
you know.
We didn't get it wrong. Zolo doesn't get anything wrong. Okay, number one.
wrong. So he said
Oh,
you're
barely had to
incompetent
try
and
it
it's all
yesterday.
wrong.
So Bruce's first at bat was a 3-pitch strikeout looking.
Absolutely.
Bat never lost the shoulder.
Absolutely.
Never
Was
left
he,
the shoulder.
because he was inebriated or
I think he was really stoned at that first
No,
at bat.
I was fucking tired, dude.
He looked like shit yesterday.
I was exhausted.
Shit when
Didn't
he
even
got
go
there.
down in my
I
stomach.
looked at him. I was
so
like,
what are you
is
trying
wrong
to tell
with
me that ride home from the west side to the east side in the weed pen didn't mix?
I don't know if it is a true
that sound about
illness.
right?
I'm
Actually,
not
it was
sure.
actually a 25-minute nap that didn't mix with
Okay.
And
25
then-
minutes of the
and
pen.
2 giant bowls of Raisin Bran that I ate.
Then he got 2 hits, scored 2 runs. Those hits did indeed score 4 RBIs.
How the fuck did he get 4 RBIs?
He got up with guys on and he knocked them in.
Huh.
And then the last at bat was a fielder's choice single to end the inning.
Okay.
Well, no. Yeah. It wasn't a hit. But either way.
Still never got out on that play, though. So
Technically, you didn't get out, but you made somebody else get out. So fuck.
that's true.
But yeah, it was a decent performance from Bruce last night as Tip softball advances to 2-2.
Also
we
made-
improved to 2-2 after a nice 13-4 win.
The catch at home as well.
Bruce did have a fantastic play at the plate.
How about
did.
you, Mike? How did you do yesterday?
Bad. I'm getting worse, and I'm going to hit the batting cages. I had a fielder's choice. I had a pop out that
It was a
shouldn't have
moonshot
caught.
pop out.
They made a play, and then I struck out swinging. I'm just bad. I'm just bad. I don't even deserve to be on the team. But
Everybody deserves.
Can
to be
I
on the-
can I give you a little bit of advice?
please. I'm open to anything right now.
Before you show up to the next softball game,
Yeah.
I want you to get a bottle of the Kraken, and I want you just to count it out in your head. When you tip that bottle, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000. That's your first sip. And then do that one more time. You'll get up there. You'll be loose. You'll be ready to go, bud. Trust me.
Hold on.
I
Why?
owe the team.
In some other news, Barley Boys lost yesterday.
Yeah, they sent that in the chat too.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
The team we're playing next week won yesterday 42-3. And the team that we got guillotined by last week won 15-14. Lost 15-14.
The one cool guy, there's like one or two. There's a handful of cool guys on our I would say our rivals in the league are Caju Cafe.
Yes, correct.
There's one or two, and he showed up last week and he goes, he's like, I was just checking your score. I was picking my daughters up from baseball. I was checking your score. We just got absolutely destroyed by Firehouse, and he's like, we noticed you always beat Firehouse. Supposedly Firehouse has this rep for being very good.
They only lost to Firehouse 11-10.
Who only lost to Firehouse?
Caju. They lost by 1 run.
No, they lost by 1 run. Yeah.
But still, we lost to them.
Yeah.
And we throttled Firehouse.
No, I don't care what happens the rest of the way. We cannot lose to Caju Cafe.
I agree.
We can lose to, and then ideally we'd like to beat what's the team that got blown out yesterday?
Birds of Prey.
Ideally, we'd like to smoke Birds of Prey.
Birds of Prey is 0-4, and they have 12 runs scored all year.
Yeah,
they allowed 42 yesterday.
I'd like to beat Birds of Prey, but we really cannot lose to Caju Cafe the rest of the way. We can't. I don't like how they were talking shit.
2 more wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything else. I don't care to get blown
Got to
out.
get loose, bud. You can't show up there. You got to be loose.
We're 2-2.
Yeah, but Mike gets a little, Mike's a little nervous. When he gets nervous, you can see it.
I have no hits. No hits. I'm the only one. Even
Four games, you don't have any hits?
No, I have a bunch of fielder's choices, and I have a walk.
Okay.
I don't have any hits. Like yesterday, I just don't want to, like, I'm getting worse, and there's a reason for it. I'm miserable outside of tip balls and outside of my relationship with my woman. I'm miserable outside of that at the moment. So I need to get my personal life on track, and I need to find time to go to the batting cages. I need to go to the batting cages.
I think you need to do some heroin.
Could work.
Little Tara work.
I'm at the point where I'm open to anything right now. I'm open to anything. And if someone came and told me, like, hey, this one hit of H will have you cranking fucking dingers.
Oh, it will.
I'll
You'd
go
be
like
cranking
this.
dingers. You'd be cranking brews. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Put some cack on his shoulder. It'll be amazing.
Shit.
What's that snake doing here? Anyways, Dan in the chat asked if we can get a live stream going on the softball games. Bruce, you think that's possible?
Damn, we could barely get this fucking live stream.
Yeah, we can't even do this.
You should see the clusterfuck that is having a guest on here.
That is true.
You could either do a video or you could live stream from your phone.
Oh, God. Anyways, well, I don't even know if I have to ask you guys how's your week going so far? Wednesday. This is our last show before Memorial Day. Friday will be an interview, so you guys can join us there. How's your week going?
Oh, it's great.
It's nothing, high points, low points, pits, peaks?
My high points, they cut the tree down in my yard. My low points is I had to pay them. And it was pretty amazing.
Wow, all in one train.
The whole back of my house is fucking sun now.
Oh, nice. You go out there.
You don't
boil
remember
up,
that
get
tree,
some
the
tan.
size of that
I
tree
remember
on the
that
side of
tree.
my
Big
house?
tree.
You and Garrett were out there fucking burning cattails.
Yeah. Yes, we were.
They were in my creek chopping cattails out and burning them in my fire pit.
What's a cattail?
Like reeds, like water reed sort of thing.
Okay.
How's your week going? High points, low points, pits, peaks? You're going international in 48 hours.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Going back to Africa, but reluctantly this time it's for work. I've gotten some details sorted out for that trip, which I'm not excited for. I want to be in town with my friends this weekend.
Memorial weekend,
Enjoying
big
this weekend.
MDW. Yeah.
Yeah. The low point is just I don't have a hit in softball, and I'm FOMOing left and right about what I'm missing this weekend. High point is I have Friday off I have a funeral, and then I got to do a fucking international travel, but I'm happy to have Friday off. So tomorrow is my last day of work for a
couple weeks. What do you have planned for the weekend? What's on the grill? What's going on? Memorial weekend, MDW.
I'm going to be working at home.
What you got? Project?
I got to clean up my shit. My retaining wall, when I moved in, it's all shitty. I need to take it all apart and redo it all.
Bruce, what are your big MDW plans?
No idea, but I'm gonna get drunk somewhere, somehow.
Gonna go what?
Way.
He said he doesn't know, but he's going to get drunk somehow, some way.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
What do you drink?
Yeah, what's Bruce's drink of choice?
Modelo.
Just Modelo.
You know what you could do? Get yourself a bottle of vodka and some tampons. and soak them tampons in vodka and stick it up your asshole. And you get really drunk. That's what I hear. I don't know about that.
Are you sure you don't have any? You don't have any?
I've never done that. You might have to ask my brother. I'll give you his number when we're done here.
Chugged?
Butt chug. So today we have another edition of our off-season recaps. It is the NFC East, which Uncle Sam thinks the Commanders will be the champions of after this year.
No.
The delusion is truly set in here after making.
They are my sleeper to make the playoffs, them in Arizona.
We also have multiple requests for you to stop clicking the pen. I'm just saying.
that?
I'm just saying. From last week,
I don't see that
it
on
was
there.
brought up last week.
Who brought it up?
It was brought up last week. We're not going to name names, but
Why?
the pen clicking has been excessive.
Who said that?
I'm just saying.
Listen, if it ain't your dad, I don't give a fuck who said it. How about that?
Well, but you can hear it through the mics.
Is it your dad?
No.
If it wasn't him, then I don't care.
Okay. NFC East. Not my favorite division. I don't think it's any of our favorite division, but
It's probably the most hated division.
I would have to agree with you. The most hated division in football, and
That's because there's one team in there that nobody likes.
there's multiple teams.
There's 4 teams. There's probably 3.5 teams in there that nobody likes.
Nobody likes the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, realistically, I know this is going to be a bias here, but I prefer the Cowboys to the Eagles, I think.
Fuck that.
And maybe the
Eagles are
Giants
better.
even.
You need to stop.
Maybe the Giants.
The
even.
Eagles are
Fuck 'em
better
both.
than the fucking Cowboys.
Fuck them all.
Fuck them all.
Fuck them all. So I guess we'll start out with the team that not all of us hate, right?
Yes.
We'll start out with the Washington Commanders.
But low key, they're kind of a rival now because of the way they disrespected Ben Johnson, and now they've now stolen 2 Lions front office guys. Ooh. They got another one this week.
Who did?
The Commanders have stolen 2 front office guys from the Lions. No, it does matter. They're big losses. It matters. It does.
Well, okay, hold on. You think that the Commanders are going to
Listen,
the Super Bowl?
if it's not fucking, if they took, what's his name, Chris Spielman, then I would say, okay, it's a loss.
They took the guy that just negotiated. He negotiates all the Lions contracts, and he's the reason why they're not in cap hell. They took they took their main
They're
contract.
going to have other guys to step in and do that role.
You gotta hope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, talking about their staff, obviously they kind of struck out as far as head coaching hires go between Ben Johnson and Bobby Slowick.
They can have him next year.
Who?
Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, they can have him.
They got Dan Quinn.
Yeah, and they hired Dan Quinn. Your thoughts on the Dan Quinn hire?
I think it's a good hire. I think it's a really good thing for their defense because they're rebuilding that defense. And I think having a guy like him, all them guys in that secondary over there, shout out to our main man over there,
Mike Davis?
Vato Davis, going to have an outstanding year. That secondary is going to have an outstanding year. You watch, those guys will probably lead the league in picks.
Well, he brought with him the Cowboys secondary coach as their defensive coordinator, Joe Witt, and also new offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury, who was pretty much a lock to go to the Raiders, and then it changed up last minute. Zolo, how do you feel about those 2 coordinator hires?
Joe Witt, I don't give a shit. That was supposed to rhyme. Cliff Kingsbury, I think, is outstanding, and I think he may be better suited to be a coordinator more than anything, and that's a perfect quarterback for him to have as his first job. It's perfect. I think that Jaden Daniels is going to, again, same drill. They did so much to ensure this player's success that I think that this player is going to have success. And it would not shock me if Jaden Daniels makes a good push for Offensive Rookie of the Year. If he's this year's Stroud, essentially.
We have to jump to the chat for a second. Longtime friend of the show, Leon President Baker, said in the chat, Uncle Sam is out here looking like Butterbean. Do you have any comments on that?
Have you guys seen Butterbean recently?
I have not seen Butterbean recently.
There's this wrestler in it.
Fucking crippled.
Second shout out to Leon here. There's this wrestler that used to wrestle for WCW, and then he retired WWF. His name is Diamond Dallas Page, DDP. And DDP does this thing where he helps wrestlers. Because wrestlers, you either die or you live long enough to just keep staying in the wrestling industry in some capacity. And Diamond Dallas Page helps all these wrestlers out because he owns this yoga company. It's It's literally called DDP Yoga, and he's helped like Scott Hall. He's helped Jake the Snake Roberts, and he's currently in the process of helping Butterbean. And when Butterbean got to him, he literally couldn't walk.
It's crippled.
Butterbean couldn't walk. Like, he was basically on all fours, needed to be wheeled everywhere. But now Butterbean's in DDP's yoga program, and he's come a long way, and he's made strides. He's actually walking, and
That's what happens.
He's not
You're
crippled.
400 fucking pounds, dude.
These people almost die.
Yeah, the guy's 6 foot tall. He's 400 pounds. What does that tell you?
Not anymore.
How do you think he's 6 foot tall?
Actually, through
What is he, 5'10"?
through what he just said,
Yeah.
he is now down to 220 pounds.
Well, they cut him in half.
It's not far.
No,
from
they
me.
cut him in half.
It's
dude.
not far from what
5'11".
I weigh.
He's 5'11".
I'd be shocked if he's 5'11".
At his heaviest, he was 343 pounds.
He was well over that, dude, at one time.
Butterbean used to fuck
And,
people
and
up.
as let me say this, Leon. I could butterbean you any day of the week, you asshole.
Call him out. Call out one of his
He
ex-girlfriends.
knows
man.
that. He knows that. I don't have to tell him.
Jumping back to the Commanders here for a minute, they also got a new GM. They hired the assistant general manager away from the 49ers. Adam Peters is the new GM there. And obviously, having the second overall pick in this year's draft, he had some big decisions to make. First and foremost, they traded Sam Howell to Seattle for a little bit of draft compensation. And then they came in a big move and signed Austin Eckler. 2 years, $11.4 million. Personally, this will be a true test to see what Austin Eckler is. Obviously, last year was a bit disappointing for him. I think they got him on a pretty friendly
I think
deal.
the whole team was disappointing last year.
I think the
Herbert
combination
being hurt most of the year didn't help.
of Eckler plus Brian Robinson is that's good. That's formidable in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprisingly good.
They also signed a guy that we're all a big fan of, linebacker Bobby Wagner, 1 year, $8.5 million deal.
Best middle linebacker in the game.
Some other additions. Marcus Mariota. Zach Ertz, the ghost of Zach Ertz. Defensive end Dante Fowler. Safety Jeremy Chin. Linebacker Frankie Louvu. So two of those big guys we talked about on Monday that left Carolina end up here.
End up there. And, you know, I will say this. Dante Fowler's no punk. He can still rush the passer.
Center Tyler. Go ahead. I'm not even going to try that. Biadaze.
I think it's Biadaz.
Biadaz. Defensive end Dorrance Armstrong. Defensive end Kellen Farrell. Cornerback Mike Vato Davis. Offensive guard Nick Allegretti. Linebacker Anthony Pittman. Wide receiver Jamison Crowder. Quarterback Jeff Driscoll. Wide receiver Palmiti Zacchaeus. You're a big fan of him.
Zacharias.
Yeah.
Yes.
And kicker Brandon McAnus. That
Brandon what?
That one was on purpose.
McManus?
Yeah.
Oh.
I caught it.
So, a lot of additions there. Which ones do you think are the most
I'm
impactful
gonna
the
be
rim?
honest with you, dude. I like what they've done in their offseason.
Yeah.
They had some holes that they just went to free agency and basically signed a bunch of guys up to solid up them holes that they had last year.
Now we got to talk about some losses here before we judge this.
Okay.
Safety Cameron Curl. I'm sorry. Running back Antonio Gibson. Corner
You
Kendall
know what
Fuller.
though? You tell me right now. Do you think Gibson is better than Eckler?
No.
No fucking way.
No
Go
fucking
ahead.
way. Kendall Fuller
Okay.
and quarterback Jacoby Brissett.
Well, Kendall
That's the
Fuller,
loss.
you signed Vato Davis, who's as good as Fuller is, if not better at this point in their careers. And I don't mind any of it.
you
I
don't-
like everything they did. They had losses at defensive end when they lost their two top guys last year. But here you come and you signed
Fowler.
Dante Fowler and you signed Colin Farrell away from the 49ers. So anytime you're taking guys away from the 49ers and guys away from the Cowboys, you're doing your job. You're doing your job.
I can't disagree with you there.
Yeah.
So then Adam Peters, like I said, had a big decision at number 2. The second pick in the draft, they took Jaden Daniels, LSU quarterback, who we all know very well.
Listen, I don't know. Any of these quarterbacks in here, I think Daniels, he's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner.
Sure is.
So I think this isn't a bad thing for them. I think he's a good young quarterback. Kind of surprised that they gave up on Sam Howell, to be honest with you. But the new regime coming in, they want to get their guy.
This is a bit more of a sure thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels over anyone. I mean, that's when you have pick 2, you're gonna take it. You're gonna take it with a Heisman winner, and
You're going to take it with a grain of salt.
maybe.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential here. He's got great pass catchers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you and me are in agreement on this. They were, for the most part, a competitive team last year, right?
Yes.
They're always cyclical too, with the way they roll. Like,
Yeah,
so
they're
every 2 or 3 years they make the playoffs and make noise.
Right.
And you can make the case that one of the main problems was just the fact that Ron Rivera fucking sucks. Am I off there?
You're not lying there. I think at one point he totally lost his team. And when that starts to happen, you watch the walls come crashing in.
Lost the team, lost
Look
the
at Bill
locker room.
Belichick.
Yeah.
Lost his team last year. Look at him.
Yeah.
And now the guy's fucking on the sidelines. I mean, what the fuck?
And that's all it takes. It could happen in a year, too.
He had the greatest coach in probably the last fucking 20 years of football.
Ever.
Get basically fucking kicked out the door.
He's the greatest coach ever, in my opinion.
So, overall, do we love the Jaden Daniels pick?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love their draft.
100%.
I love their draft, period. You're going to go down this list, and there's some fucking studs on this list.
And the second round of pick 36, Johnny Newton, Illinois defensive lineman.
Yeah, arguably the best tackle in the draft.
We were very high on him.
I liked him. I was hoping the Lions would have grabbed him.
He slipped because he had a foot injury. That's why that's the only reason he fell. He's
I think
extremely.
he needs surgery now. Did he have that surgery
He
done?
did, yeah.
Yeah.
He's extremely disruptive in the best way possible. And he should have been a first rounder.
I watched some film on him, dude, and the guy is just constantly fucking. He's all over the place, dude.
And this was already a
nobody can
good
contain him.
D-line. This was already a very good D-line, too.
Yeah.
And the rich get
It
richer.
just got better. You add him that rotation with them guys that are there, Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Fuck.
So they actually had 3 second-round picks. With the second one at pick number 50, Mike Sanistril, Michigan defensive back.
If you ask any Michigan fan, you could find a Michigan fan that's 75 years old, and if you ask them to make a Mount Rushmore of their favorite players of all time, Mike Sanistril would be on that list. He was effective as a wide receiver for 2 years. They asked him to switch positions. He did. He was one of the best defensive backs in college football last year. Everything he does, he goes hard every play. He'd be a first-round pick if he wasn't undersized, but he will simply prove as soon as he gets there, it doesn't matter how big he is. He's just that he's in on everything. I think he had 2 pick sixes last year. Ultimate leader, ultimate locker room guy, can play special teams. That's a guy that's going to start for them, and that was their biggest hole on the team last year was secondary. They got shredded by Justin Fields on Thursday Night Football in Week 4. And I think that instantly adds a lot to their secondary. It's a guy that's going to play every snap and kick a lot of fucking ass for them.
With the third second-round pick, 53, just 3 picks later, Ben Sinnott, Kansas State tight end.
Yeah, Uncle Sam and I both love this.
Yeah, I thought outside of Brock Bowers, this guy was a top 3 tight end.
There is a clip that they aired of Sinnott playing hockey, and I love the correlation between guys that used to play hockey and play. It always pans out. Former hockey players tend to go into the NFL and kick fucking ass. And there was this clip of Sinnott. It was a completely illegal hip check where he literally stole a guy's soul out of his body. It was so illegal, but it was him playing high school hockey, and he destroyed a guy. He took his soul. Physical tight end, can do everything. He's an all-around, well-rounded tight end. He's a pass blocker, or excuse me, he's a blocking tight end, and he's a pass-catching tight end. Another great player, and he fits it. I mean, it's a weapon. That's a position that they needed to fill, and you complement. Logan Thomas is still there, right?
I believe so.
You the two of them. That's an excellent 1-2 punch at tight end, and those are guys that catch passes too. The rich get richer.
He is not.
Oh, he's not. Okay.
He's not there, but they signed Zach Ertz.
Okay.
So you have Zach Ertz.
So him and Zach Ertz together. Zach Ertz could show him the ropes. Yeah. Good
Love
pick.
it.
Moving on to the third round, pick number 67, Brandon Coleman, TCU offensive lineman.
Solid player.
Yeah, TCU's been churning offensive linemen out the last couple of years.
He's a
too.
solid player. Hey, listen, TCU's been putting out good linemen the last 2 years when they punched Michigan in the mouth in that one.
Every
game.
time TCU comes up, you always say when they punch Michigan in the mouth. Every time.
did.
I'm not mad. I'm just saying you do it every
I'm
time.
just speaking the truth, dude.
They
They made
in the
Michigan
mouth.
look bad.
They did.
Yeah. And Michigan winds up winning the national championship. What does that tell you? Yeah, sure, they went in to play Georgia, and you remember what happened there. It was a complete and utter ass punching.
Pick number 100. Luke McCaffrey, Rice wide receiver, who I just would like to point out is currently wide receiver 3 on the depth chart.
Yeah, but he's an X. He's for them. He's probably an X. That's just my opinion. I think that on paper, his college tape. First things first, he came in Nebraska as a quarterback. They didn't know how to fucking use him. He didn't develop properly. Went to
it's
Rice,
Nebraska.
and he put together a really good career at Rice. Really good career as a wide receiver. I'm impressed with him. He doesn't have. I'm getting racist here. He doesn't have the athletic ability of a lot of the players he was up against in this class. He's still quick. He's still 6'4", or something like that, 6'3", great hands, catches everything that's thrown to him. Vertical isn't quite there. The RAS score in general wasn't quite there, but this guy's going to be on the field, and he's going to catch passes for them.
You play football.
And he's got the fucking bloodline. His dad was a very stout, excellent. His dad was Wes Welker before Wes Welker existed. Obviously, we know what his brother does.
Yep.
Excellent
Actually,
bloodline.
he's more like his dad than Christian.
Yeah, well, yeah, they play the same position. Him and his dad play the same position.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick here.
Remember who his dad played with?
Denver and Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Dad played for the Commander or the Redskins.
Real quick here. Just looking back through this now, because I'm looking at wide receiver. So Luke McCaffrey, Jamison Crowder, and Zacchaeus were their wide receiver additions. And I'm not going to lie to you, this wide receiver room for them is not looking all that hot right now.
Well, who do they have outside of Scary
They'll have
Terry?
Dotson.
Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey, Dax Milne, Diami Brown, Zacchaeus, Mitchell Tinsley, Demir Bird,
Can we go back real
Jamison
quick?
Crowder.
Can we go back real quick? Terry McLaurin is so good at his position that he bucks. There's receivers in this league that can play wide receiver no matter who's throwing to them. They could be effective, and Terry McLaurin's one of those guys. He's done it with a bunch of different quarterbacks.
He's Amari Cooper reincarnated.
I like him better than
I think he's better than Amari Cooper, yeah. I think Terry McLaurin is going to absolutely he's the reason why it's debatable on if McCaffrey is their X, because Terry McLaurin is open wherever he is on the field, and he's probably going to primarily play outside. That's just my opinion.
Terry McLaurin's had, outside of Kirk Cousins, which I don't even think he played.
He didn't play with him. He didn't even play with Kirk.
He hasn't had a fucking real quarterback yet.
No.
So we'll see what's going to happen when you give him this young athletic
Exactly.
kid.
He's got a quarterback now.
And he actually played pretty well with the fucking shit they've been throwing in there.
And even Jahan Dotson had a big year last year.
Yeah.
What was it, year 2 for him?
Yeah.
Jahan Dotson had a big year for what garbage was throwing at him. Sam Howell was kind of effective.
Both of those guys are very good wide receivers.
Yeah, I wouldn't count out their receivers. Of course, it's not sexy, but like a couple years ago, the Lions churned out Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Chark and Josh Reynolds, and that wasn't sexy. And then look what they did 2 years ago.
Very true.
So you never know. And I think McCaffrey's formidable too.
In the 5th round, 139, they took linebacker Jordan McGee out of Temple. And then turned around and with pick 161, took Dominique Hampton, Washington corner. And then with pick 222, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Notre Dame defensive line. So a pretty...
Well, his brother's a corner on that team, no?
No,
Baptiste?
that's St. Juice.
St. Jude.
Oh,
St. Juice.
So outside of, well, definitely more defensive heavy in this draft than offense. And honestly, their free agent period was pretty defensive heavy too.
I think they're free. Well, they just showed you something. Dan Quinn's going to come in there. They're going to play fucking hard-nosed defense. They're going to run the football, obviously, with this young quarterback. They're going to run the football with Eckler and Robinson, and and just feed off the play action.
I think this guy's going to be doing a lot of the running. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be doing a ton of the running. That's what he does well.
Yeah, I know, but you don't want to risk that pick.
Listen, just bigger
Look
picture.
what happened to Richardson last year. You don't want that same thing.
Just bigger picture on the NFC East, like taking a step back. This is my Mount Rushmore of sports dumpster fire franchises. In the NHL, it's the Ottawa Senators. In the MLB, it's the New York Mets. NBA, it was the Knicks.
Go with the Nets?
It was the Knicks.
Pistons.
And honestly, right now is the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, they're dog shit.
In the NFL, the dumpster fire franchise is the Commanders. And even though they've had success, they've had on and off success over the last couple years.
See, in my lifetime, they were very good. The whole time I was growing up, and you're talking from
that was the Redskins.
you're talking from the 70s all the way to the when did they beat Denver?
In the 90s. It was 92. The
late
year I was born.
90s.
The year I was born, the Redskins won the Super Bowl. Just bigger picture. They brought in a very heralded good owner in Josh Harris. He's very good. All of their front office hires, for the most part, has been good. So I was complaining about the Lions. The reason they're poaching the Lions front office guys is because the Lions currently have one of the best one of the best front offices in football. So they've been taking good guys from organizations.
That amazes me how 2 years ago this place was a dumpster fire. Nobody wanted to fucking come here.
Agreed.
Now everybody's trying to poach the coaches and the front office people.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Is that your fat?
Cliff Kingsbury, great hire. They completely botched their coaching search, and a bunch of really top tier guys turned them around. Dan Quinn is still a great hire when it's all said and done. I think Dan Quinn could be very effective for them.
I think he's a better coordinator than a head coach. That's my opinion.
He could be one of those guys. He could be.
Because-
But he never lost his locker room, and he was still good as a head coach. Guys revere him as a head coach. So bigger picture, I just like what they've done.
They didn't lose because of Dan Quinn. You know who they lost because of, right?
Matt Ryan.
No.
You talking about the Falcons?
Yeah.
Who?
I don't know. Who's the coordinator on that team?
Oh, Kyle Shanahan. Regardless, bigger picture, when you factor in everything, I mean, just alone, I had them as a top 3 draft. This free agent period, I think, is the best in the well, no, the Eagles will get to their free agency period, but this is one of the best in the division, and they had a monster. Like they're doing things the right way. I am rooting for Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to be outstanding. I think he's going to be extremely fun to watch. He was last year at LSU, and I'm excited to see what they do.
What do you think so far?
Well, I like the Commanders. I think I got 2 teams going to the playoffs out of this division this year. One is the Commanders, and the other one's the Eagles. Eagles will win a division.
You're calling
Commanders
a worst
make the
to
playoffs.
First. You're calling a worst to first here.
What are you talking about?
The Commanders are going to make the
The
playoffs.
Commanders will make the playoffs this year.
Strong words from a strong man. Moving on to, honestly, right now this team could probably be considered pretty close to dumpster fire status as well. That is the New York Football Giants, who very recently introduced a new 100-year. What?
Wait, must have.
Okay. Who very recently introduced their 100th season logo and uniform. It's a nice throwback jersey. It's absolute dog shit. I thought out of any possible uniform combination you could have put together, this to me was the most ugly. It was.
I like their uniforms.
With the beige, the khaki pants.
That's fucking old school.
Dude, it's awful.
That's old
It
school.
is
Love
fucking awful.
Fucking love it.
It was awful. Zolo, your thoughts on the throwback unit?
The Michigan helmet.
The blue and red Michigan helmet.
I haven't seen one iteration of the throwbacks. when
By
they
the way,
bring in
that's not the Michigan helmet. It's Delaware helmet.
Michigan had it before Delaware.
University of Delaware.
Michigan had it before them. In fairness, it was everyone's helmet back then. That's just how every college helmet looked. All the winged helmets.
Huh?
Anytime a team does the fucking brown old fashioned pants,
What are you
it
saying,
never
Mark?
looks
I got
good.
my mic.
Can you think of one iteration where it looked good?
The brown pants.
I like it. I wanted the Lions to use that color
if he likes it, that means it's probably dog shit.
Okay.
You just like it because it's the same pants the Michigan
Whatever.
Panthers wear. It looks like a
was you,
USFL team.
It would be fucking hot pink and
It looks like
teal.
a fucking arena football
Okay,
team uniform.
so
It's the Detroit Fury.
They
hot
countered
pink
this.
and teal.
They countered this and did something really fucking sick, by the way. Literally the next day, they unveiled this thing they're doing for their season ticket holders. They came out with a commemorative ticket to commemorate this season with your seat number on the front, and it's encased in like a plastic thing. And then on the back, it has a commemorative ticket from the first ever Giants game. It's a replica ticket, and it's really cool. And this is just for their season ticket holders. They also came out with this box of 4 replica rings from all of their championship wins. See if you could look it up. It looks really fucking cool, and it was a novel concept. So they redeemed themselves.
Their season ticket holders.
Yeah, to commemorate the 100th
That's
anniversary.
fucking nice.
It's,
Why don't the
it's
Lions
so cool.
do something like that?
Because the
people?
Lions haven't
Rings
won
to give
shit.
out, yeah.
Okay. Well,
And the Lions, in fairness, do a lot of good stuff for us as season ticket holders.
Oh,
they
that
take
is
good care
pretty
of us.
cool.
Yeah, that's the box right there. It looks really good. Bruce, see if you can post edit. See if you can throw that on there.
Yeah, no, that is a nice little nod.
But then they countered everything with one of the shittiest free agency periods, one of the shittiest drafts I've ever seen.
Shitty uniform, shitty free agency, shitty draft, and then they get to be on the first ever shitty offseason Hard Knocks.
I'll watch it.
I'll watch it, but God, there just wasn't enough meat there to really get excited about. I wish it was a team that did a lot.
This is how we let Saquon walk.
Yeah, this is how we lost our franchise player who ran to a division rival. They brought in a new defensive coordinator to replace Wink Martindale. That man is Shane Bowen, the Tech Titans defensive coordinator. Their quarterback, his name is Daniel Jones. And he tore his ACL last year. He is still yet to resume throwing. And we all know how this went with the Tommy DeVito fucking era and all of that bullshit. What are our thoughts on Daniel Jones returning to this team as the starting quarterback? And do we think that there's much left in the tank there for him?
Go ahead, Butterbean.
I think when Daniel Jones is at his best is when the pressure's not on him. And I don't think there's any really pressure on him. There's pressure on the coaching staff because somebody that we know, Brian Dabo, might lose his job if they start out like dog shit this year.
Well, no, you know what the good thing is? If Brian Dabo does lose his job,
yeah.
he could come in here and replace you and nobody would know the difference
Okay.
if he was sitting in
Anyway.
that chair instead of you.
That's really funny.
So, on Daniel Jones, real quick, I think he could be an effective. He's what all the quarterback rankings think Jared Goff is. Jared Goff is significantly better than that.
He's a lot better. Jared Goff is a better thrower of the football
Agreed.
than Daniel Jones.
Agreed.
But Daniel Jones is very fleet of foot. The guy can fucking run.
Yeah.
He's dangerous.
I'm not here to compare. I'm just telling you that Daniel Jones is in my opinion, he's never anything more than like maybe gets you 2 touchdowns a game, and he's probably not the reason they're winning games. You just need him to be in line. You need him to be Eli.
Serviceable.
He was
Yeah.
Eli. He literally had the same coach that Eli had, same quarterback coach that Eli and Peyton had. David Cutcliffe was his coach at Duke, and that's one of the reasons they drafted him was the comparisons. Listen, you have to run it back one more year with him. I do think they pull the plug after this year if things go poorly. I'll say this much. They drafted a pass catcher in the first round. They drafted another one last year that he barely got to throw to. This is probably his best set of pass catchers that he's ever had. And I think that's going to go a long way. And on top of that, we'll get to it in a second, but they invested in their offensive line. It was one of the worst in football last year. Guys just got injured left and right. And they didn't invest with a lot of sexy names, but they did invest. And I remember the Bengals did this 3 years ago with Burrow. They invested in the offensive line, and then they went to a Super Bowl all of a sudden. So I think it matters. And who knows? On paper, this offensive line is better, maybe not great, but that could go a long way for Daniel Jones if he could play within the system.
Yeah, because it didn't matter who they put at quarterback there last year. They were getting their ass pounded. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you put back there. They were getting fucking pounded. Him, who was that dude? Jimmy Cutlets. Jimmy Cutlets, is that his name?
Tommy fucking
Whatever, he sucked. He got his ass raped. It's It is what it is, dude. Got to protect these guys, dude.
One of their biggest offensive weapons, tight end Darren Waller. It came out within the last 2 weeks that he is filing for divorce after 1 year of marriage. And now the rumors are starting to fly around. Sporting News actually did an article on it today that he is, quote unquote, the number one cut candidate for the Giants if he does not retire, which all signs are pointing towards him retiring at the moment.
Well, it sounds like to me they've already kind of got him going out the door anyway.
It looks like one way or another, Darren Waller may not be on this team.
Boy, what a waste of fucking draft for them, huh? What a waste of free agency money. Go ahead.
But they did pick up somebody that we regard very highly here. Brian Burns, defensive end. They got him from the Panthers for a second and a fifth, as well as a 2025 fifth. They signed him to a 5-year, $141 million deal.
Best defensive player for his age available in this year. He was the best guy. I wish he could have come here, but they couldn't. They didn't have the collateral to give.
They had the collateral. They weren't going to pay him that money though.
Yeah,
That's a lot of fun.
like I said, they weren't going to give. Well,
140.
they weren't going to give up the collateral or the money to get him.
How do we feel about him being thrown in?
I think it's awesome. Him opposite
Thibodeau.
Kayvon Thibodeau. They're going to be a fucking force.
That is a pretty nice.
They're going to be a force, and then you put that Alar in there. The one guy they got, he's fucking a monster too.
They signed. We'll get there in a second. But if I remember correctly, they also signed. Did I make this up? Yeah, never mind. I made it up.
Well, some signings included guard John Runyon, 3 years, $30 million. Running back Devin Singletary, who at the moment
Actually, I like that.
is running back one on the depth chart.
Okay.
Imagine going from Saquon to Devin Singletary.
Fucking A.
You know what? If Devin Singletary can at least stay on the field,
Dude.
that will be a plus. Listen, outside of the last year or so, Barkley's been injury prone his whole time there, dude. He's missed how many games
Devin
since he was
Singletary,
drafted?
dude.
I'm calling my shot. This is where Donovan Edwards ends up next year for Michigan. If they don't end up taking a fucking quarterback. If they don't end up with Quinn Ewers or
I thought they took a running back in this draft.
Shedeur Sanders.
Hold
one
on.
of those two.
Hold on for a second here. I need to do some quick math in my head, but the Commanders signed Austin Eckler for 2 years, $11.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is $5.7 million a year.
It's about the going rate, no?
And the Giants signed Singletary to 3 years, $16.5 million.
Oh my God.
So that is it's near as makes no difference, almost identical money for Devin Singletary as opposed to Austin Eckler.
They probably didn't have a shot at Eckler.
Yeah, maybe Eckler didn't want to go there.
He probably looked at it and thought fart noise and then moved to the next team.
For money, you're going to tell me you compare Devin Singletary to Austin Eckler.
If you were Austin Eckler,
I wouldn't go there.
Where would you have gone?
I wouldn't go there, but I would have paid
I
Austin
wouldn't have
Eckler.
gone to the Giants either. I would have went to Washington before the Giants.
They signed offensive tackle Jermaine Illuminor,
Okay.
quarterback Drew Lock,
Okay.
cornerback David Long,
Okay.
tight end Chris Manhertz,
Okay.
wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie,
Okay.
safety Jalen Mills,
Okay.
offensive tackle Matt Nelson, defensive tackle Jordan Phillips.
Oh, they took him away from Buffalo. He was a solid guy in Buffalo.
Tight end Jake Stoll.
Okay.
And
The ghost of Allen Robinson.
wide receiver Allen Robinson.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, did they get anything near what they lost?
Well, let's talk about who they
Wide
lost.
receiver wise, they didn't lose anything. It doesn't look like they gained much either.
Well, you have to remember they retained Gunnar Olszewski.
Okay.
How do you say his last name?
Olszewski.
Olszewski. That's a big one. They also retained cornerback Darnay Holmes, cornerback Nick McLeod, linebacker Isaiah Simmons.
I love that. I love all three of those dudes.
Their departures:
Yep.
Saquon Barkley,
Yep.
Ben Bredenson,
Okay.
Cam Brown,
Yep.
Paris Campbell,
Yeah.
Shane Lemieux,
Okay.
Xavier McKinney,
Okay.
Offensive tackle, Matt Part.
Any guy on that offensive line was shit anyway.
Correct. Defensive lineman, Sean Robinson.
You know what? He's a good run stopper.
And Tyrod Taylor.
Well, you know.
I like to zone in on this, but as far as their top skill players go, we have Devin Singletary at running back. If Darren Waller does leave the team, it's Daniel Bellinger and Jack Stoll at tight
I like
end.
Daniel Bellinger, by the way. Just
And
like to
then
tell
wide
everybody
receiver, obviously, besides the guy they took in the first round, whose name is Malik Neighbors, it is still the good old.
that. I
crew.
think Neighbors is a monster and will excel in that
Hold
offense.
on, let's talk about who they got around him,
Yeah.
because I see a lot of double coverages in his future. Darius Slayton, Wendell Robinson.
Say what you want to say about Darius Slayton. Now, tell me I'm not right on this, Mike. Every time there's a big game with the Giants, it's Darius Slayton making plays.
Yeah,
with
once
you.
a year.
I'll give
No,
and
no.
Wandale Robinson's name will come up too.
Yeah.
I'll give
He had a good end of the year last year.
They both had bigger years than Jalen Hyatt last year. I know.
Well, Jalen Hyatt, they really didn't use him till late
Jalen
in the
Hyatt
year.
is 5th on the depth chart, behind Allen Robinson.
Yeah. I'm shocked on that. Maybe he's not getting the playbook. Who knows, dude? Who knows?
So free agency.
Maybe he's like Leon. You got to draw it on a fucking piece of paper for him.
How big of an impact would losing Darren Waller be for them off the rip?
I don't think it'll be a
barely-
big
he
impact because he barely played last
he
year.
barely played.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously we kind of know how big Saquon of a loss Saquon is.
That'll be a
big
big
loss.
loss.
Does bringing in Brian Burns to play opposite Thibodeau?
Well, they're trying to do what the Jets are doing.
Jordan
They want their defense to
And
be
Jordan Phillips.
They're trying to make an elite defense over there. That's what it looks like to me.
And Dable's a scheme mastermind too. When things were better for them 2 years ago and they were healthy, he schemed his way into a win in Minnesota 2 years ago in the playoffs. Brian Dable's one of the best offensive minds in football. So who knows? Maybe they are taking that approach. Maybe it's we're gonna rely on this defense, make it better,
Yeah.
and see where it goes. Maybe it won't. I don't know anything about
Until they're
Shane
picking
Brown, but-
until they're picking high in the draft again. Obviously, there wasn't going to be a quarterback there that they were interested in. That's why they took Neighbors.
Well, yeah, at 1-6,
I mean,
wide receiver out of LSU, Malik Neighbors.
I think they were just always committed. They know they'd be stupid to move on from Daniel Jones because of what
Yeah.
they just paid them. So I think they were all.
What did
not
Brad
that they
Holmes
didn't like
say?
the quarterbacks.
you can always get worse at quarterback before you
Yeah,
get better.
it's easier to get
Yeah.
worse than get better because I think they were very interested in McCarthy. I think they should have been interested in Penix and they should have been interested in Bo Nix because all three of those guys are, in my opinion, probably better options than Daniel Jones. But it's just going to come down to you just paid this guy and it lessens the blow if you get rid of him. You see
Right.
what you have after this year and then you get rid of him. But you're committed right now.
Right.
They should have never gave him that money and they did, and here we are.
Should never gave him money.
Malik Neighbors, I'm sorry. Great player. I think he's the third of those receivers. I think he's the third one. I prefer Odunze and certainly Marvin Harrison over him. But hey, you got a good guy, and a lot of people had Malik Neighbors as one of the best players in the draft, and they got him. So
Your thoughts on Neighbors?
This kid's going to show some shit. He's explosive after he catches the ball. He's fucking explosive. You know what he reminds me of? Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
Just their body
That's one hell
type,
of a
the way they
comp
play
there.
the game,
that
their,
might have actually
their
been
athleticism.
one of his comps, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
In the second round with pick number 47, they took Tyler Nubin, Minnesota defensive back.
Newman was one of the best safeties in the
Yes.
draft, if not the best safety, and that's one thing that PJ Fleck has actually turned out really well is safeties.
Him being a former, was he a wide receiver or safety at Ohio State?
Row the boat.
Yeah, row the boat.
Row the boat.
I think that's actually a great pick, and it's someone. I mean, he'll play opposite Jabril Peppers, and I think it's a great. Newman's gonna play. Newman's gonna play for them, and I could see now. Especially when we factor in their draft, I could see more and more what they were trying to do defensively. Because
Yeah.
their third round pick was actually really good, and is a guy that could end up starting for them too, like as soon as this year.
In the third round, they took,
I think you'll see them guys in a rotation. I think you'll see both of these guys play a lot.
who's both of these guys?
Newman and
Phillips.
Phillips.
Well, in the third round with pick number 70, they took Andrew Phillips, Kentucky DB.
Yeah, he's awesome. The Lions were heavily in on him. Handsy, physical at the line of scrimmage. Is tall enough to make some plays. That's a good division for him to cut his teeth, too. I honestly, I think Andrew Phillips starts day one. Wouldn't be shocked.
Really?
Wouldn't be shocked.
Check the chart. Newman is listed as number 1 on the depth chart, and Drew Phillips is listed as the 3rd corner.
Give him some nickel time. I'll bet he plays. I'll bet he handles. You'll see him not handling with ease, but you'll see him handling Terry McLaurin and AJ Brown and CeeDee Lamb. I think you're going to see that at some point with Andrew Phillips. A lot of people were high on Andrew Phillips, and I think that's a great player. They got good value for him too in round 3.
In the 4th round, at pick 107, Theo Johnson, Penn State tight end.
More of a blocking tight end, but who knows, with that offensive line, maybe that's exactly what they need. And he made some plays, Theo Johnson. He made some big plays for Penn State over the last couple of years.
In the 5th round at 166, Tyrone Tracy.
This is a slasher.
Running back
out of Purdue.
Slasher, very shifty, smaller guy, but he strung together a couple pretty good years in West Lafayette.
So you put him and Singletary in the same backfield, it'll be kind of nice. It'll be kind of nice. Maybe those two guys can make
If
up.
you keep
maybe
saying
those
it-
two guys can make up for the loss of Barkley.
If you keep saying it over and over,
Yeah.
you might start to believe.
You might start to believe it.
Yeah.
I hear it.
And with their last pick at 183, they took Darius Mousaw, UCLA linebacker.
It's not that bad of a draft.
No, not that bad.
Okay, so if off the rip here, let's just get a few things out of the way. So far, 2 teams. Are we all in agreement that Washington's draft and offseason was better than the Giants?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys. And I am not going to lie to you, out of every single team we have done, which as of right now, 4-1, that's 20. This will be our 27th team that we have broken down. There has not been one as small as this. So we should be able to get through this in about 3 minutes. The Dallas Cowboys retained head coach Mike McCarthy.
Biggest mistake of their life. Go ahead.
They did not extend him.
Dead man walking. We'll see you October 13th, you fucking pussies.
He's walking the Green Mile.
Fucking frauds.
They hired Mike Zimmer to replace Dan Quinn.
Okay.
Eye patch.
Listen, Mike
Blew his eye out.
Zimmer's a good football coach.
Fuck him.
Good football coach. He's not a good head coach, but he's a good football coach.
They are yet to extend Dak Prescott.
Another fucking mistake. Go ahead.
Do we think,
Don't extend him. They were smart for not extending him.
Do we think Dak makes it out of this offseason as the highest paid quarterback in football?
I don't know about that, but I think he. I
Do you
think
think
he
you
gets
get paid more than Goff?
Yes, I think he gets I think he gets into the 50s easily.
So it's Burrow at 55.
Honestly,
Goff at 50.
yeah, he's going to get more than Goff. He's going to.
So do you think do we think he breaks 55 million?
Yeah.
I think he.
Who the fuck in God's green earth will pay this guy $55 million?
Dallas Cowboys.
Are you fucking serious?
How about them Cowboys?
Listen to me, dude. If
Listen, it's
if
easier-
Jimmy Johnson
It's easier to get
truly
worse at
is
quarterback.
going to be an advisor to Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy and fucking Dak Prescott will be gone by the end of next year. By next year, they'll be gone, both of them.
You have that
together.
much faith. You have that much faith. In
If Jimmy Johnson is a true blue advisor to Jerry Jones now, like he said, neither one of those guys will be there next year.
And a name that's very familiar to Cowboys fans, they signed running back Ezekiel Elliott.
It's like Royce Freeman.
They also signed running back Royce
They're going to need him.
Who? One more time?
Royce Freeman.
and linebacker Eric Kendricks.
Eric Kendricks is
I like
pretty-
Eric Kendricks.
He's a good player.
It's good football.
That's their only free agent signing that they can sink their teeth into. And do they really need help with their linebacker core? I mean, what, he replaces Leighton Vander Esch? I mean, it's an upgrade over Leighton Vander Esch.
yeah, because he hasn't been able to stay on the field anyway.
And they go as their D line does. But
He had a 2-year span where he was actually relevant and hasn't done much in the past 4 years.
This fucking cowboy collar that I always used to wear.
Some guys they've re-signed and retained: cornerback C.J. Goodwin, cornerback Jordan Lewis, running back Rico Dowdle, and guard Chuma Edoga.
Okay.
Losses: Tony Pollard,
No loss.
Tyron Smith,
That's a loss.
Michael Gallup,
No loss.
Tyler Biadasz. I still don't have that one down.
No loss.
Defensive end Dante Fowler,
That's a loss.
defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins,
That's a loss.
linebacker Leighton Vander Esch,
No loss.
and corner Stephon Gilmore.
Gilmore's a big loss. They need him, especially
So-
coming up here.
He only slotted in though because Diggs was out
Yeah.
last year. That's the thing.
Yeah. That's still a loss. You lose a guy with his experience and his skill set.
It's a loss.
That's a
in way.
loss.
It's a loss.
So far, is there anything there that makes us feel any type of way other than completely?
They had an okay draft, which we'll get to in a second, but I don't know how everyone keeps looking at this team and thinks that they're going to be a top 3 or 4 team in the NFC.
I don't either.
It clearly got worse. They were playing with house money for the back half of the schedule, and then the wheels fucking came off.
Came off.
I'm not seeing it.
All 4 wheels came off.
They were sitting on cinder blocks.
They're fucking horrible.
The draft, with pick number 29 in the first round, they took Tyler Guyton, Oklahoma offensive lineman.
I like him.
Needed an offensive lineman. They got
I
a
think he's
decent
very
one.
good.
With pick number 56, Marshawn Nealand, Western Michigan defensive lineman.
I think had he been there for the Lions at 61, that they would have taken Nealand. Everyone was so shocked at how far Nealand slipped, and that's another rich get richer type situation because he's going to a very solid pass rushing core. He will thrive there. He will thrive. He's a great player. His motor's honestly similar to what's his face there, Micah Parsons.
Really?
Just how he moves, how he's in on every play. He was a late riser in the draft process. I'm telling you, that's a really good fit and a really good player.
At pick 73, Cooper Beebe.
He'll-
Kansas
The guy I
State
like.
offensive lineman.
He'll start for them.
Yeah. He'll be a starter for a long time for them.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Cooper Beebe. With their second, third round pick at 87, Marist Liufu, Notre Dame linebacker.
He's actually a pretty good linebacker. He'll probably start out on special teams and work his way into the lineup.
In the fifth round, 174, Kalen Carson, Wake Forest DB.
A lot of people were high on him.
A lot of people were high on him, and again, this is he has developmental traits, but everything's there, and he's a full blown football player. And Wake Forest has churned out some really good defensive players over the last couple of years. Another guy that the Lions brought in for a visit.
Yep.
Very good player, and again, that's a great place to camp out for a little bit because you could see some time at nickel in that DB room, and you could be a very big difference maker.
Right.
Good spot for Carson. Good player, good spot.
In the sixth round at 216, they took Ryan Flournoy, Southeastern Missouri State wide receiver.
I'll bet he ends up being a back half of the season
Gem.
a guy that you hear his name pretty often. I'll bet they find ways to get him the ball and get him open.
At 233, Nathan Thomas, Louisiana offensive lineman. And at 244, Justin Rogers, Auburn defensive lineman. And that is it on the Cowboys. Was that less than 4 minutes?
Well,
No, but it was our
they
fault.
didn't do anything in free agency, basically. And their draft, I see a handful of guys here. I had 8 picks, and I think 4 of them will make the team.
I think that's a very good draft. It's not gonna. I don't think it's enough to fill the holes from what they had last year.
I don't either.
And I don't think it's a draft as good as this draft is. This is one of the better drafts we've looked at. As good as this draft is, I don't think it's enough to progress them forward. They have to rely on what's currently there to move them forward.
And they must think that they've got it.
They're one injury away. They're one Micah Parsons injury away. They're
Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
Dak Prescott,
Dak injury.
Cooper Rush is still
Cooper
there.
Rush injury.
Don't forget about Cooper Rush. So far.
But if I remember, he was 5-0 as a starter.
Anyways.
He
this
was.
definitely wasn't better than Washington, correct?
I don't think
No,
it's better
I
than
don't think
Washington,
so.
no.
Was it better than the Giants?
Honestly, yeah. I do
Yes,
think it's
better than the Giants, but not better than Washington.
Just because there's more difference makers in the top end than the Giants had.
Giants free agency wise did a lot better than Dallas.
Every 31 teams did better than the Cowboys
Yeah.
in free agency this year.
So, this leaves us with our fourth and final team from the NFC East, and that is Uncle Sam's Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, the most disappointing team of last season, who just seemingly fell apart as soon as the big old tub of shit rolled into town. They made a subtle jersey change. They switched the Eagles font on the front of the jersey to a new font.
Okay. Don't know. I haven't seen it.
They got rid of pretty much every coach besides Nick Sirianni.
Well,
Offensive coordinator Brian Johnson was replaced with Kellen Moore.
okay.
Defensive coordinator Sean Desai and Matt Patricia, because
Yeah.
they were both defensive coordinators, have been replaced by Vic Fangio.
Side note,
I will say this. They could have been replaced by a high school coach, and they would be better.
do you know where I'm going with this?
I know where you're going with it. Go ahead.
Did you see this by any chance, Uncle Sam, what the Miami safety Javon Bullard said about Vic Fangio?
No.
They asked him yesterday, they go, what's the difference between what you have now at defensive coordinator and what? And he goes, what are the differences between Fangio? I don't know who their D coordinator is now. And he goes, he's just a better person. The Dolphins defense hated playing for Vic Fangio, and I think that's going to be a funny storyline if he is a toxic guy. And that's 2 years in a row he's been fired. I mean, he was fired 2 years ago from Denver, and he was fired last year. So that's very interesting to see
And
how
I
that
believe
things
he was
fare.
fired out of the 49ers and replaced with Amu Bob, no?
And the Bears fired him as well, didn't they?
Anthony Weaver, new
Anthony Weaver.
Dolphins.
So I think it's very
Vic
interesting.
Fangio.
Very interesting because this is already a volatile defensive room.
Yeah.
So I'm very
Yeah,
curious
but
how
you
that
know
plays out.
what? I can't listen. Nothing could be worse than what they had last.
It can, and it may.
They can't be worse.
No, it doesn't
Vic
get worse.
Fangio, I will say this: he might be an asshole, but he's a better football coach than Matt Patricia and Sean Desai.
I got no
He's
arguments.
better than both of them guys, huh?
I got no arguments on the Patricia side of things.
Yeah.
They also replaced quarterback coach Anthony Tanney
Okay.
with Doug Nussmeier.
Yeah, that'll help. Nutsmeyer, that'll help.
Nuss-
Doug Nussmeier's son is I don't know if you guys know Nussmeier's story. He was one of Saban's better offensive coordinators before he went to that era. In the recent era of Saban coordinators, it was just plug and play. Like he'd get an old name like Lane Kiffin and Bill O'Brien, and it would work.
Yeah.
And Nussmeier was one of the last like tried and true coordinators he had. He came up here. He came to Michigan for a year. They were the offense got worse, and then I can't remember where he went after that. It might have been Miami. But Nussmeier's son, interestingly enough, he's now going to be the quarterback at LSU, and he got some reps last year, and he looked really good. And he's someone to keep an eye on for number one
Listen,
overall pick. He could be the top quarterback.
These guys
before.
coming in playing quarterback and their dads were fucking coaches
Usually works out.
usually works out. Kirk Cousins.
So keep an eye on Garrett Nussmeier as a Heisman front runner at LSU this year, and he could also be the number one quarterback in the draft next year. Remember this
I agree.
conversation.
They wrote gargantuan checks to two wide receivers. A.J. Brown, 3 years, $96 million. Devonta Smith, 3 years, $75 million.
Well, what can you say?
Two guys you got to keep around.
I think they got Devontae Smith. If
Kind of
he
an
ends up, if he hits his potential,
Yeah.
which he's shown, like it hasn't been consistent, but there's times he's been really good.
I agree.
And I think Devontae Smith's a great receiver, by the way. If he gets to his potential, that's a bargain for a couple years.
Bargain. I agree.
And A.J. Brown, what are you going to say? The guy's, when he's on, he's dominant.
You want me to be honest? I know this is probably not going to be, this is going to be frowned upon. I think that's an overpay for A.J. Brown. It's an overpay for A.J. Brown and an underpay on Devonta Smith.
You think Brad Holmes, that contract came in a couple days after St. Brown, and he had to give him a certain amount?
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Brad.
They extended guard Landon Dickerson, 4 years, $84 million.
Good player.
Jordan Mailata, 3 years, $66 million.
Another monster player.
Jake Elliott, 4 years, $24 million. Kickers getting paid.
This is Jordan Mailata is, I hate to open up old wounds here. Jordan Mailata is the reason why I think that an NBA player could go to the NFL and the NFL player can't go to the NBA, because Jordan Mailata didn't play football. He was a rugby player. or look him up. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
The guy's fucking huge.
he didn't play organized football, and he's one of the best interior linemen in the NFL. And on top of that, he's the reason why they were always okay with Jason Kelce leaving, is because Jordan Mailata is going to plug in there and do just fine.
He's a tackle.
I thought Mailata was a guard.
They drafted Kelsey's replacement a couple of years ago, Cam Jurgens, the beef jerky guy. He's the one that took Jason Kelce's spot.
I don't think he.
Remember Cam Jurgens, the guy that makes
yes,
his own
he did.
beef jerky?
He did.
Yeah, he took Jason Kelce's spot.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's pretty fucking good, too.
Jordan Mailata, yes, he was a professional rugby player.
And he's a tackle, and he's a
6'8",
dominant tackle.
365.
Yeah, he's
He's not as good as Lane Johnson, but he's getting there.
That's a very.
It's a humongous.
That's good. Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata is good.
And they also extended Josh Sweat 1 year, $10 million, defensive end.
He's one of them rotationary guys. They lost probably their best defensive lineman in the offseason. So
They re-signed Albert Okwuegbunam. Ogwubunam.
okay,
Tight end, defensive end Brandon Graham, safety Reed Blankenship, and punter Brendan Mann.
yep.
They traded for Hassan Reddick
Oh yeah,
from the Jets
yep.
for a 2026 conditional third-round pick. And they also got quarterback Kenny Pickett.
Correct.
Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox have both retired.
Correct.
Jason Kelce will now be on Monday Night Countdown.
Good for him.
Some more Kelce for you.
He's beat.
They signed running back Saquon Barkley to a 3-year, $38 million deal.
Wow.
How big of an impact does that just instantly make for this team?
What do you think?
In terms of touchdowns, Swift was, especially at the beginning of the season, Swift was very effective for them last year. So those are, in a way, it's weird to talk about it in this context, but those are big shoes for Saquon to fill. If Saquon is healthy, though, that provides something. He's a four-down back.
I like Swift, but I think Saquon running the ball inside is head and shoulders better than he is.
No debate.
That's just my opinion. I mean, that's the reason why Deuce Staley didn't care for Swift here when he was coaching here, because he'd always want to take everything outside instead of cutting it up the middle. You won't have to worry about Barkley doing that.
I have a quick edit to make here.
Go ahead.
They traded Hassan Reddick to
Correct.
the Jets,
To the
not
Jets.
from the Jets.
Oh, my bad.
I'm
To the
sorry.
Jets. But they signed Brett Huff from the Jets
Well,
to take Hassan Reddick.
you want to let me get there?
Yeah, well,
They signed defensive end Bryce Huff to a 3-year, $51 million deal.
yep.
Do you think it's an upgrade over Hassan Reddick?
No.
No.
I don't think he's an upgrade, but I think he's going to be a solid player.
They signed another familiar face, safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, to a 3-year, $27 million deal. Zolo, how do you feel about that one?
That's what he wanted when he left the first time. Went back and got it this time around. I think it's odd after all the shit he talked to Philly fans is that's where he ended up.
Yeah.
They wanted to sink resources into their secondary. They did.
Yep.
They wanted to sink resources into their defense. They did. Good on them. They had a monster offseason, as you could see.
They signed linebackers Zach Bond and Devin White to 1-year deals.
Where was Bond at?
In the AFC somewhere.
Hold on. I will tell you momentarily. New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
They got him from New Orleans, and you got Devin White away from Tampa. Wow. That was a weakness in their team last year, was linebacker.
Some other signings. They signed Matt Hennessy, center.
Okay.
They signed wide receiver Devontae Parker, and he retired 3 days later.
Okay.
They signed linebacker Oren Burks.
Okay.
Defensive tackle P.J. Mustafer.
Okay.
Wide receiver Paris Campbell.
All right.
Cornerback Tyler Hall. Quarterback Will Guerrier. Cornerback Avonte Maddox. Tight end CJ Uzama.
That's your guy, no?
Me? I'm a big
you were-
Uzama guy.
You were a big Azama guy back in the day
I was.
when he was with the Bengals.
Offensive tackle, Mekhi Becton.
Kai
Becton?
Bettman?
Sorry, Mekhi Becton.
Becton? He's a high pick for the Jets, no? Becton? Wasn't he a high pick for the Jets?
A few guys that they lost. Safety Kevin Byard.
He didn't really even play.
Obviously, it goes out saying Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox.
Yep.
Marcus Mariota is their backup QB.
Okay.
Running back Rashad Penny. Running back Boston Scott. Running back DeAndre Swift.
Huh.
Wide receiver Quez Watkins.
Okay.
Tight end Jack Stoll. And obviously, Uncle Sam's favorite, wide receiver
Zacharias.
Zacharias. To their draft, which you guys regard extremely high.
Yeah.
Their draft will answer all your questions that you seen the losses of free agency.
With the 22nd pick, they got Quentin Mitchell, Toledo corner.
Everybody was high on him. They said that he was possibly the best corner in the draft. We'll see what happens there.
Your thoughts on the Quentin Mitchell signing? There's a lot of people who had him pegged to come here.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", extremely physical, nose for the ball, high instinct player. He's a little green. That was the knock on him, and how he fares in the run game was another knock on him. But I'm sure that they're not going to mind because they have other guys.
I've seen tape on him. He's a stud in the run game, dude. He holds the edge very well.
I'm just telling you what all the reviews are on him.
Yeah.
Do we prefer him in any way, shape, or form to Terry and Arnold?
No.
Do you?
What do you mean? Yeah.
Terry and Arnold.
Yeah.
You
I think
prefer
either
Mitchell
one. I
to
think they're
Terry
1A, 1B.
You do.
Yeah.
Terrion Arnold's experience, in my opinion, is what sets him apart. And,
His experience in competition will set him apart.
and the effectiveness he had in a loaded SEC this year. But that's no knock on Mitchell. Mitchell's a great player. Mitchell was a late his name was out there, but his name didn't start skyrocketing until the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
And he just was a terror in the Senior Bowl.
He was fucking holding his own and then some.
Everywhere he went, the draft, the combine, he was a terror. Mitchell was a terror at his pro day. He was a terror at all his workouts for the team. Like he just checked off a lot of boxes, and good for them. That's a good get for them.
With the 40th pick, second round, Cooper DeJean, Iowa defensive back.
It's going to be hard for him to crack it, Cooper DeJean, the way things are kind of set up there.
It is kind of interesting.
But you know what? I think this kid's so athletic and so talented. He'll probably be one of the best return guys in the league, period.
That factored into them drafting him.
Yeah.
Too.
I'm not going to lie to you. He's at the top of the depth chart
Good for him.
in the nickel spot.
I'm impressed with that.
The knock on Cooper DeJean is, of course, he's a corner and he played it very effectively in college, but he's slow and he translates more. Every team drafted him with the was thinking about him with the possibility of, well, worst case, we just put him at safety. So if it doesn't work out for him, he's going to find a home somewhere and he's going to be effective no matter where he is. And then, like Uncle Sam said, the return game is a big part.
Yeah, he's the best return guy in the country last year. I mean, bar none. Iowa wouldn't score half the points without him.
In the third round, pick 94, Jylix Hunt from Houston Christian, defensive end.
Another one everyone thought was like a nice little hidden gem,
Yeah.
Felix Hunt. And he could be, I don't know if it's going to be day one, but he'll be a rotational piece eventually that you hear a lot of later on in the season and into next year. He's good. This is your replacement down the road for Bryce Huff or whoever else is they're running at edge. He could develop.
Probably
into something.
Brandon Graham.
Graham.
He's basically on his last year.
In the fourth round, pick 127, Will Shipley, Clemson running back.
Go ahead, Uncle Sam.
Well, here's your replacement when Barkley decides to leave.
You think so, eh?
Oh, yeah.
When Barkley gets hurt.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Shipley's better than anything they had on their roster last year.
They do have Shipley on the depth chart behind Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah.
Behind Kenneth.
Kenneth Gainwell. I'm surprised by that.
No, he'll get reps eventually.
Yeah,
it's
dude.
going to take a second, but he'll get reps. And they always do weird shit at running back anyways. So.
Yes, they do.
Right.
They had 3 fifth-round picks, and with the first of them at 142, they took
Anna Smith.
Anus Smith, Texas A&M wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean he
Depth
should
chart
make
guy.
he should make the team. And it's a guy again. It's a great place to learn. It's eventually he'll get reps. Everything they did is just depth.
Yeah.
Everything they did here, I just see a lot of depth and guys that I know could be very effective for them in the near future.
At 155, Jeremiah Trotter, Clemson linebacker.
Legacy, wearing his dad's number too.
Yep.
At 172, Trevor Keegan, Michigan offensive lineman.
Michigan fans will make the case that Keegan was probably the worst of their amazing offensive line. He's one of the worst ones. Same drill. I mean, he's going to sit and marinate there for a couple years. He's going to be inactive, but down the road, if he takes in enough, that's a great place where you can, get paid. Look what they just gave to guards this offseason, last couple years. So it's a good landing spot for Keegan. Great player that has a lot to learn, and that's a good place for him to learn. Good fit.
He is currently number 2 on the depth chart.
Yeah.
At right guard. At 185, Johnny Wilson, Florida State wide receiver.
I don't know how Johnny Wilson fell as far as he did. He's
Something going on with him?
No. I think people were deterred by his size. He's like 6'7". Can you look up Johnny Wilson's height real quick while you're over there? I think people were just a little deterred by his size because it slows him down, but that's a fucking weapon. You have that guy run a route out there in the back of the end zone, he's going to catch it probably.
They had a guy like that back in the late 70s named Harold Carmichael that was 6'7", 6'8".
What is he?
6'6", 238.
6'6", sorry.
238. Shit, he puts on another 10 pounds, he could be a tight end.
And then with their last pick, 6th round pick, 190, Dylan McMahon, North Carolina State offensive lineman.
They just finished off their draft. They always draft offensive linemen every year. Howie Roseman, that's what he does.
Holy shit.
It's worked for him.
Yeah.
Harold Carmichael. What a gigantic human being. Wide receiver, 6'8", 225.
Yeah.
Still kicking, 74 years old.
Yep.
Wow.
I remember
Shout out
watching
to
him
Harold.
play in the Super Bowl.
Shout out to Harold.
Shout out. I remember
on
him
the
playing in
show.
the Super Bowl against the Raiders, and Kenny King caught a screen pass and went 75 yards for a touchdown.
Dark Lumen's in the chat. Dark Lumen. Jan 6
Who's
Santa.
that? Is that kid from San Francisco?
Yes.
Okay.
He says that Jan 6 Santa has the mic touching his face. It's making scuffling noises. Why are you rubbing the mic on your face?
Actually, I was rubbing it on my belly, if that's what you really want to know, buddy.
Okay. So now that we've concluded Philadelphia, are we agreeing that Washington still had the best offseason out of every NFC East team?
No.
No.
The Eagles, you
Eagles had the
case
best.
had the best free agency period and trading period.
Yes.
And you can also make the case. In my opinion, they had a top 3 draft too, and I think you can't really beat that.
So Philadelphia at 1.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we agreed that Washington was above both Dallas and the Giants.
Correct.
So we're going to put them at 2. And I really, honestly, now that I'm looking at it on paper, I really do like what Washington did. I don't know if they're a playoff team, but I think that they made a lot of improvement. And then you get to choose between Dallas and the Giants.
The edge goes to the Cowboys because they had a better draft, in my opinion.
What about you?
I think the Giants had better free agency. Dallas had a better draft.
So who are you giving the edge to?
I'm going to say the Giants.
Wow. We have a split decision on 3 and 4.
Just because I think the guys that the Giants had picked up in free agency are going to be fucking go-get starters right from day one.
The Giants also had a quality draft too, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't done this yet. But who's your favorite team in this division right now? You don't have to go into detail.
Like to win it or
win it.
To win it,
Just real quick.
Philly?
Eagles.
Wow. From both of you.
Yeah.
In tandem. Well, with that being said, we've wrapped up another division and we only have one more to go. And that division is the NFC North. But that division is not going to come until after our quick Memorial Day break, which will start after Friday. Because we have
I got a big
Friday.
shocking surprise for everybody
What's your big shocking surprise?
after Memorial Day.
After Memorial Day. I already know. God, I can't even imagine where that's going to go. We have an interview coming out on Friday with Arizona Cardinal Dante Stills. So check that out. It will be live at 5. And you got all weekend, all Memorial Day weekend. If you're on the road trip, if you're sitting out by the barbecue, pull it out. Take a listen. It's a great interview.
Pull it out?
Pull it out.
Pull it up.
Pull it out. Bruce, why would you put it away back there?
That's what Bruce is going to be doing.
You got anything to add?
I'm sorry?
You got anything to add?
No.
Okay. Do you have anything to add?
Pittsburgh got the 2026 draft, and it's not going to be nearly as good as it was here. I just want you guys to know that.
Yeah, we'll see if they can really do the crowd control over there.
Nah, they can't.
Fucking place is a shithole right now.
Pittsburgh is a shithole.
Wait, have you guys been there? I actually
I've
love.
been there.
I
Yeah.
love Pittsburgh.
No, but I
just
mean
think,
lately with all the issues in the city and just crime-ridden.
Dark Lumen.
It's almost as bad as Chicago.
Hold on. Dark Lumen in the chat wants to know if you'll be interviewing the My Pillow guy anytime soon. You know the My Pillow guy? He's always on Fox
Is that
News.
fucking idiot?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Anything to add?
The answer is no.
Ben?
I don't interview people from San Francisco.
The My Pillow guy's not from San Francisco.
He's from
Anyways.
San Francisco.
After you guys watch our interview on Friday, we hope you have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. You guys will hear from us in the first week of June. In the meantime, make sure to check out our socials, Instagram and Twitter at tippedballs, TikTok at tippedballspodcasts. You can also read our blogs under the Tip Thoughts tab on www.tippedballs.com. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music, you can definitely watch us on YouTube. And remember to click subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified when we go live. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, sometime around 5, but not for the next 2 weeks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Enjoy Memorial Day weekend. You will hear from us in a few weeks.